welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of July 29th, 2018. This is episode 15. Disney Marvels, the podcast about Disney, Marvels, the parks, cruise line, Fox, and so much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Now, on with the news. Incredibles 2 has become the 7th animated film to cross the $1 billion mark at the global box office. It is the 5th animated and 18th ever billion-dollar release, joining Black Panther and the Avengers as Disney's 3rd release to reach the 1 billion milestone this year. Congratulations to the Incredibles. If you haven't seen Incredibles 2 yet, obviously, it's worth going to see. Speaking of which, also if you haven't seen it, you can pre-order it now on Blu-ray and DVD through a lot of the retailers. Target and Walmart have exclusive copies. 20th Century Fox has, and the Walt Disney Company, both announced that the stockholder meeting on the 27th of July for Fox went rather well for Disney. The merger that Disney has proposed has been agreed upon. So the agreed upon assets will now become part of Disney, as the separate companies will be spun off into a new Fox. So it will now be 21st Century Disney. Well, that's not the actual name, I'm just saying that. Disney announced its next steps to commitment to the environment stewardship. By 2019, the company will eliminate single-use plastic straws and plastic stirrers to all owned and operated locations across the globe, amounting to a reduction of more than 175 million straws and 13 million stirrers annually. Disney also shares additional plans to reduce plastic waste across its businesses over the next few years by transitioning to refillable in-room amenities in Disney's hotels on the cruise ships, reducing the number of plastic shopping bags in its parks and on Disney Cruise Lines by completing its work to eliminate polystyrene cups across all the global owned and operated businesses. In addition to its long-term effort to reduce single-use plastic, the company will continue to recycle and responsibly dispose of single-use waste that cannot be eliminated. This goes along just like how the Disney stores themselves now do not have plastic bags. They have the reusable bags that if you don't have one, you have to purchase or bring your own. So, no more straws. Star Wars Episode 9 starts filming this week, or has already started filming this week. Sadly, with the passing of Carrie Fisher last year, the studio has received permission from her daughter to use unreleased film from The Force Awakens for Princess Leia's parts. So we will not have to worry about missing out on Princess Leia in the upcoming, what is deemed the final episode of the Skywalker tales. In the rumors, James Gunn may be coming back. Yes, you heard me correctly. Variety has gotten hold of a letter written and signed by the full cast backing their support to the now former director of the Guardians of the Galaxy series, Bob Iger, who is the only one who can make this executive decision on whether to allow Gunn to come back to continue his work, is currently on vacation after, relatively speaking, sealing the Fox deal. And supposedly, like I said, he will have the final say. No one else wants to touch the matter. So we shall see what happens from there. We'll definitely keep a close eye on that one. Now, On with the show. In businesses, there are two major ways to grow: organically, with your own brands, ideas, and labor, and continue to foster them, nurture them, and grow them in hopes that you make some, a little bit, or potentially a lot of money. The other way is through acquisition, buying up or being bought up by other companies. Between Eisner and Iger, mostly Iger, we have seen Disney grow from its little studios, mostly in California, to adding companies like Capital Cities, ABC, Pixar, Muppets, Marvel, Lucas, and now Fox. All now part of the Disney brand. This is no small feat, and Disney is no stranger to what happens when one company comes in and wants to buy another. Look what they almost went through, what happened to Disney in the 80s. They were almost acquired by, there was a number of potential buyers out there who wanted to come in and gobble up the company that it was, at that time, quite desperate and really hurting. Fortunately, we know how that had played out. How far the companies that Walt and Roy started in the early 1920s, they're about to where they are now, and talking about how the likes of Homer J. Simpson, Stewie, John McCain, Deadpool are now shaking hands and getting their paychecks signed by one Mickey Mouse. I'm going to put a little footnote here in this. I'm going to put two footnotes. One, bear with me. I'm a little under the weather at the moment between allergies or a cold or something. But the more important footnote is, the Fox shareholders have agreed to this buyout, the U.S. government has agreed to allow this merger to happen. But this is not completely done yet. There are a few hurdles left for them to jump over. There are still 15 other regulators around the globe that have to approve the merger, one of which is China. Is it likely they will kill the deal? No, I don't think so. But you never know. Until the ink is dry on that paper saying it's okay, it's not completely done yet. So the celebration may still be a little premature. But, when you think about it, Fox's share in China, the earning from China is only about 2% of their earnings. I wouldn't worry too much about it. But you never know. You never know. What's going on in the world today? But anyway, bringing it back to the more happier end of it, barring any setbacks, what does this all mean for Disney? What is Disney getting out of this deal? Is it just, well, we want more. We need more. We're going to take more. Something was for sale and we're buying it up? Not exactly. It's very interesting because it started by the chance meeting with Murdoch and Iger. And the details at the moment are a little fuzzy to me. But it wasn't an initial plan of Murdoch to sell off this huge chunk of his company. And Iger kind of nurtured the idea. Murdoch kind of, okay, let's see if I do sell off this chunk of the company, I could acquire Sky from in the UK, which is more. That's kind of where I want to take my company now. Iger says, "Hey, this stuff I want more for my company. I have these plans and projects, so more library is what I need." And that's really the focal point here now, isn't it? It's the library. It's not necessary. Oh well, we're gonna get uh, Big Sky Animation, who's doing some fantastic work, or we are getting one of the oldest and longest running cartoon series in the history of the world. No, it is. Well, let's talk about it. What what were they getting from Fox? Well, we get the entire movie library, including all the Marvel properties. Hello, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Mr. Poole are all now coming home, in a manner of speaking. They're getting the Die Hard series, the Alien series, the Alien vs. Predator series, Predator, Home Alone, Independence Day. Home Alone's going to be fantastic if it's under the family coupling, because, well, let's renegotiate the rights for Freeform to be able to show it on the 25 Days of Christmas. You now have four movies, or five, but three decent movies on to be able to air. Well, two decent movies, really, right? Yeah, Macaulay Culkin was only in the first two. So yeah, you got the two. You can have Home Alone 2 now on Freeform for the 25 Days of Christmas. So that just gives you something additional to run for 25 days before and during Christmas. You also get the Planet of the Apes. Personally, I think that there's great reason that could get brought right into the animal kingdom. Moving along, though, you got Independence Day, Titanic, one that I'm sure Disney's really thrilled about if they're talking about, James Gunn's not being appropriate, the Full Monty. But you also get Ice Age. I mean, very beloved characters, one of the more higher grossing animated series out there currently. I'm sure they're jumping at that one, they're definitely jumping at the bit. And oh, yes, Avatar. A small little part of the animal kingdom is dedicated to that now. And having James Cameron now kind of under Disney's wing with a number of his projects, how does that part not make sense to be now part of your company? You no longer have to pay out for licensing for that section of the animal kingdom. That now all that money comes right home. On top of that, they get back the original 6 Star Wars. The original 6 Star Wars movies are finally coming home. And what that means is, well, they'll probably still put the 20th Century Fox little banner in front, but that is now, you can put a Disney banner in front of that because it is technically a Disney property. But we're before the distribution rights, so Disney still had to go through Fox to be able to do anything with those original movies. They no longer have to do that. These are Disney's movies now again. So Disney now has complete control of Star Wars, where before they had a weird shaped control of Star Wars. It wasn't the complete circle, it was 3/10 of a circle. So what does this all mean? That, okay, you got all these movies. Well, let's think about it. Really, in the end, it is gravy for Disney. Because Disney wants to work on this streaming service. Disney is coming out with this streaming service that's going to come out in 2019. I mean, there's already glimmers of it around the world. At some point, 2019 is coming home to America. So, I was thinking, kind of diverging at the moment, this also gives them a majority hold on Hulu. I personally wonder how is this going to play out in the long run. I mean, between the two, you got so they're gonna have a majority hold on Hulu. They have this other streaming service that they've been building up separately. Will they just kind of merge it together? Will they kind of push out everybody else who has Hulu, or are they going to go and say, okay, we're going in on this. You can pay us to be part of this streaming service, and now you have everything that Disney owns plus some of the CBS and is NBC part of Hulu. I think so. Yeah, NBC's got a small share in there. So that's gonna throw an interesting caveat into this streaming service that's going to come out next year. So again, something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But also on a different angle, and this actually is not a benefit, but they will have more mouths to feed when it comes to movie release dates. And what does Okay, so what do you think about this? All right, Fox was producing the X-Men movie, so they can release them whenever they want. Now that gets tied into the Marvel situation. All right, so now Marvel's got its master plan. It's going to have to reshuffle about, okay, when this movie comes out, when that movie comes out. What are we going to do with the X-Men? Are we rebooting it? Are we just playing along and just going to nicely integrate it in there? When they do that, how often will you be able to put out an X-Men movie? Before it was about every 2 years we were getting a new movie. This isn't going to be the case anymore because now you're going to be competing, you're going to be producing X-Men movies, even going along with the 3 movies a year for Marvel. You're going to have to keep the Avengers story going, whatever they're doing with that after Avengers 4. Which, I didn't put this in the rumors, suppose his name is going to be Endgame. But, besides the point. So you're going to have to do that. You have the Spider-Man stuff that you have going on. You have Doctor Strange coming out with the second one in the next couple of years. Black Panther 2. Guardians 3 we know is already in production to some extent, which is currently on hold until the whole James Gunn thing gets worked out or whatever director they decide to bring in, which they're not currently looking at one. Ant-Man, there's going to be an Ant-Man 3. Captain Marvel. I am going to tell you 90% sure that there will be a Captain Marvel 2 at some point. On top of that, new Fantastic Four. You're going to have Fantastic Four somehow worked into the fold of that. I mean, is it wonderful that all this is coming together in the MCU? Yes. Does it make it that much more complicated for us, the fans, to be able to get more content at a faster pace? Yes. But it's not, I'm not just talking about Marvel here, though. Because, okay, Disney can do so many releases in a year before it starts competing with itself. Hence, Solo. Did Solo fail because of the movie that it was, or the movies it followed and it was against? I'm going with the latter on that. It's not because of the movie it was, because you talk to most people who actually saw the movie, and not people who saw the trailers and started bashing the movie, but the people who actually saw it, for the most part, actually enjoyed the movie. Not saying it's a great movie, but it's an enjoyable movie. One of the main reasons why Solo did not fly as well as it did is because it followed up Infinity War. Infinity War was still grabbing money hand over fist at that point. Well, if people are going to see Infinity Wars, they're not going to see Solo. Even though there was enough of a time span in between it traditionally and moving Avengers up an additional 2 weeks to, one, avoid pirating and leaks, but too, to give that a little more time spans. I'm sure Disney did not expect that kind of turnout. So whenever Infinity War started pulling in that kind of money, it's going, oh boy, what do we have coming out next? Solo. All right, so Solo's not necessarily going to drag in what we were hoping, and it didn't. And that's kind of going to be a problem going forward now that you got the Fox Studios, Fox Searchlight, everything that falls under that umbrella. That's going to be wanting, okay, well, we have this movie coming out. We want to do this. Okay, so we're going to have the Avatar movies. Well, with the Avatar movies coming out, that means somebody else's movie gets pushed back, does not get produced, or goes direct to video or something. Or gets an unfavorable airing, unfavorable date. So that's where the complication comes in, because James Cameron's going to go, okay, here's my movie. You now have Lucas going, okay, here's our movies. You have Marvel going, here's our movies. Pixar comes in there, here's our movies. Disney Animation goes, okay, here's our movies. Walt Disney Movies comes in and say, okay, well, here's our movies. Where are all those movies going throughout the year so they you're not tripping over yourselves? I mean, think about it, just this summer release alone. So after Solo, you had Incredibles 2 that came out in June. You gave that a little space. July, you got Ant-Man and the Wasp. Gave that a little space. August, you have Christopher Robin. That is kind of a normal flow. You take out any time from that, though, and Incredibles 2 is taking money away from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp will take away money from Christopher Robin. This is why you need space, and this is where Disney's going to be tripping over itself, because you're not giving yourself as much space, or you have too many chefs in the kitchen trying to, impress themselves and trying to put out their works. Unfortunately, that some of those people may want to go elsewhere to get their stuff produced. Besides that, I think Disney's going to have some wonderful IP to work with here. But moving on from the movies, let's talk about the TV shows. I mean, the recently canceled ABC show, now revived by Fox, Last Man Standing with Tim Allen, now, instead of being a Fox-produced show, is now a Disney or ABC-produced show on Fox. Kind of the other way around from where it was before, where it's a Fox-produced show airing on ABC. How is that going to play out? Ooh. As a Last Man Standing fan, I hope Disney doesn't go, hey, well, we canceled you once, now we're just going to kill you all together. And I don't think so, because if they're going to make money off of it through Fox, they'll let it run. Let Fox pay for it, and we'll produce it. But just as a note, they're not getting the Fox Network or Fox News or Fox Sports Network in this deal. Those are actually going to be part of the new Fox company. But what else are they getting? Modern Family, which is an ABC show, which is a highly watched and award-winning show for ABC, but produced by Fox, will now be altogether in part of the Disney family. So Disney now will be completely getting all the accolades from that. Speechless is another one. Empire X-Files is now going to be a Disney show. Awesome. I'm thrilled about that one. The Gifted, which is an X-Men TV show. The Americans, which is a very interesting spy show. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's kind of a strange one. This Is Us. NBC's, Comcast, Universal's, big tentpole show that draws in 90% of their ratings, or whatever the amount is, will now be Disney's produced show. So where Comcast was trying to pull this away from them, Comcast is now paying they're actually now paying Disney a lot of money, besides having to pay for all the Marvel characters that they've licensed in their Universal parks, they will now have to be paying for This Is Us on TV. Oh yes, Simpsons. That's another TV show that Disney now owns, which, to me, The Simpsons being part of the Disney family blows my mind. But you have the Simpson rides at the Universal Studios. They now have to pay Disney for that one now too. Something tells me that Universal is going to be restructuring their parks really soon. We're going to see a lot more Harry Potter down there. Family Guy. Now, that's another one that blows my mind that's now going to be part of the Disney family. Bob's Burgers, American Dad, King of the Hill. That's just to name a few. But sorry, all you Power Ranger fans were thinking, okay, well, they got through Fox before. They got rid of them, back to Fox. Well, Fox did have them for a bit, but I believe actually Hasbro beat Disney to reacquiring the rights to the Power Rangers. So they are now in family with the Transformers and G.I. Joe, not with Mickey Mouse and The Simpsons. But besides the current produced TV shows, you have the whole back catalog of older shows as well. 24, which is a hugely popular show. 24 Legacy, which was not as hugely popular of a show. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Hill Street Blues, The Shield, Glee, Firefly, Mary Tyler Moore, and one of my personal favorites, MASH. MASH is going to be now a Disney property. God, I wish they would put that into the parks. That would be fantastic. So many more. And the TV channels that we're going to be joining their group. You got the National Geographic Channel, which, think of all the Disney nature produced movies and films. You got the True Life Adventures. Well, that's now all going to have a natural home, besides trying to put it on the Disney Channel or ABC or something like that, or Freeform, which, to be honest, they don't exactly work on there. You got the Stars rights, but you have to pay the whole thing. Was bearing it on someone else's channel. Now you guys air it on your own channel, on the Nat Geo channel. Get rid of some of those reality shows and put on nature shows. On a National Geographic should have nature shows, in my opinion. And come on, you already have such a huge catalog of stuff that you can put on there. Do it. Sorry. So, okay, you got that. You got FX. You got FXX. You have Star and Animals, Shine Group, and so many others of the different television and stuff that will be on there. Now, here's the tricky part. On the sports side, for a few days they will have the Yes Network, Sky Sports, Star Sports, Fox Deportes, and all the Fox regionals, like Fox Chicago and all those other ones. The U.S. government has already declared and jumped in and said, nope, Disney has to sell this off in a very short time period, because otherwise it will be an unfair monopoly and raise up prices, and it will not be good for the viewers. So Disney will have to quickly unload it. Now, what's the exact language behind this referendum that the government is putting on Disney? I don't know if it's 100% of the channels. Is it a majority of the channels? Some people are speculating that Universal will try and grab them up, but if Disney is not allowed to acquire them because of ESPN, which is ESPN, ESPN News, ESPN2, ESPN3. What else? I think that's about it. On the ESPN Classic, ESPN, and the college stuff. Universal is just as guilty with NBCSN, Golf Channel, NFL Network, Olympic Channel, and several other in there as well. So they have a fair amount of stocked up channels as well. So you really, who's going to get these? We don't know. Is it possible Fox may buy it back from them? We shall see. But if they sold them off in the first place, my guess is probably not, because they didn't want them initially. Why are they going to want them again? So, this is kind of what's going on in a nutshell. Like I said, it's not 100% yet. But they're definitely acting like it is. And so that means they probably have a good feeling that those small remaining groups are not going to be holding them back. What property are you most excited about that is now coming to the Disney family? What is individual IP, channel, part of Fox? Are you happy? Are you happy that they got the Marvel comics? You know, the X-Men and the Deadpools and Fantastic Four are now coming back to Disney. Are you thrilled that all these TV shows, that The Simpsons will now be part of Disney? Tell me, what are you most excited about of this Fox acquisition? Sit down, come to the Facebook group. It's facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast. Let me know. Put it on there. Again, the Facebook group is facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast. Or shout it out on the Twitter. That's at Disney Marvels. Don't forget the S at the end. One more time, Twitter's at Disney Marvels. Let me know what you're most excited about. What you think is going to come. You think this is a brilliant idea? And I know there's a bunch of IPs on there that I did not mention, especially some of the classic movies that Fox was able to get a hold of. Tell me. Put it out there to let everybody know that, hey, Disney now also has this in their catalog, among so many other wonderful things. I mean, imagine if they still had the great movie ride in the Hollywood studios in Florida, and they had all these IPs. That would be an amazing attraction. Like, you already had the aliens in there, Indiana Jones. Think how many properties that were shown in there are now part of the Disney umbrella. If you don't want to sound out on the social, you could email the show. Email the show at disneymarvels@gmail.com. One more time, the email address is disneymarvels@gmail.com. If you have an idea for a show, you could also send it out through the email. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Sorry I went on for so much longer than usual, but I know some people have been actually asking for longer shows, so here you go. And this is going to be fantastic. I think this is a wonderful thing. And we'll have to keep track of it. Again, thank you very much for listening. I know your time is precious. There's always so many hours in a day, and I appreciate that you're taking some of your time in listening to me and being part of this. And keep telling people out there, hey, check out that Disney Marvels podcast. Make sure while you're at it, while you're telling them about it, share it out there, share it on the social. Hey, I'm listening to Disney Marvels right now. Check it out. He's ranting on about Fox. Or, just tell them word of mouth. Hey, did you listen to this week's Disney Marvels podcast? Share it out there, and that's how this will keep growing as a family, as a community. We all share so much in common. It begins with a mouse with Disney, and it just keeps going from there. I very much appreciate everything that you guys do and be part of this show. I just ask one more thing: if you can go on to iTunes or whatever way you listen to this and rate the show as well. Besides sharing it, please rate it, because the more ratings that the show gets, the more iTunes and all the other ones will recognize it as, hey, this is a legitimate show. And more people will get to notice it and more people get to see it, and just again makes the family that much bigger. And a bigger family is a happier family in this case because it is Disney, so more is better. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the show so when a new episode comes out, because I can't always get it out at the beginning of the week, usually it's the middle. This week I was on vacation, so that's why it's coming out so late. It's you'll know when they arrive, and you can download them then, or through your smart speaker go, "Hey Alexa, play the Disney Marvel podcast," and she will. Again, thank you so much for everything, and I do appreciate it. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I know I'm ranting on about this, but it just makes me feel good. This little idea of mine, and you're being a part of it. So I want to end this week's show with a quote, like I usually do, from the man himself, Mr. Walt Disney. It has to do with business, more so money. And the quote is, "I'd say it's been my biggest problem all my life. It's money. It takes a lot of money to make these dreams come true." And sadly, that is true. A lot, and we know that. We're seeing the price tag that Disney had to put on Fox. Walt probably would be amazed that his company that he started, again, in the 1920s now has that much money to acquire all these other businesses and keep growing. Well, again, I hope everyone's in good health, doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic, amazing week, and I'll see you next time. The Simpsons.